Hello, and welcome to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. I'm Ted Bonnet.
I'm Phil Proctor.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
Well, I've been traveling, and I'm back. This month was to be my 31st wedding anniversary with my darling late wife, Melinda. And so I went down and spent some time in Imperial Beach with her little sister, Bonnie, who looks uncannily like her. And we celebrated her life and our life together. Nice. And as I was saying to you, I think we were like 35 years, 36 years together in all. Just wonderful years. So I miss her terribly, but it was a good ride. And we're going to have a good ride today because we have a very interesting guest.
Yeah. And, oh, by the way, there is a wonderful commencement speech by Ken Burns.
Yeah? Did he document it?
No. Oh. But it was documented.
Was he holding a camera up to his own face?
I was so impressed by it. It was the quintessential commencement speech.
What school?
Brandeis.
Oh,
and it was
good school.
Ken Burns' commencement address 2024. It's 20 minutes. It's so beautifully eloquent and so hip to the time right now that we're facing, what the kids are facing. And boy,
cool.
If you had to say something to graduates today,
yeah,
he really, really said it. It was a beautiful thing. It's worth going out of your way to see.
Well, listen, we're gonna talk about some of these issues today. Once again with our guest, who is
Marty Rifkin.
Hiya, Marty.
Hey, fellas.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Marty is one of my best friends. He's a neighbor. He's just an overall mensch. He's just the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, so why is he sitting here today? I mean, I have lots of friends too, but
well, he had more money than anyone else. Crisp $100 bill.
Yeah, but that's supposed to go to the station and not to you.
It did.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Actually, Ted owes me for tech support.
He's also my tech guru. Marty has coached me through Pro Tools.
Well, that's great. Maybe a microphone that's not working quite properly.
But
we'll fix it in post.
Would you? Okay.
But Marty is also a multi-instrumentalist, session musician, and a producer. And I would say one of the best pedal steel guitar players in the country. And I'm not blowing smoke here.
A little too kind, but thank you.
He's amazing.
Well, that's because there aren't too many of them.
right. But out of the five of us.
But you're really pushing the pedal of the metal, aren't you? Right.
I'm telling you.
Marty has played with the very best. He's toured with Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty, Jewel. You played with Glen Campbell, Elton John, Weird Al Yankovic, Hans Zimmer, Dwight Yoakam.
Boy, that must have been a full bus.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Billy Bob Thornton, Rosie Flores, Chris Shiflett of the Foo Fighters, and John C. Reilly.
Yeah, that was pretty great. He would do little dates,
Yeah, he's
not
a
major
cool
tours.
dude.
He's
like
great.
Him, yeah.
And you're
really
also a very busy, in-demand record producer.
And you have your own studio, right?
Yeah.
At my own studio, you've been there.
In Santa Monica,
both of you guys.
Yeah, I was there to sing a song for Riverdale Country School, I think it was. I can't even remember the exact details, but I sang some kind of a song for the alumni.
Right.
That had been written specially for it or something.
That was a great day.
It was fun.
We had fun.
So in your studio, which you've had forever, you've produced music for over 1,500 songwriters and artists, including Smokey Robinson, Hal David, Rita Coolidge, Creed Bratton. My goodness.
How many years have you been doing?
I've been, last August was, so I guess it's going to be 31 years now. It's getting close.
31 years? It was my wedding anniversary.
It's
31 years.
Exactly.
Magic.
When you got married, I decided to open up a studio.
How cool is that?
And that was the year I moved in down the street from you.
That was great, and it didn't take us another 20 years to meet. But yeah, it's a cool place. It used to be the Beach Boys rehearsal studios and offices. And
is there cat litter on the ground there?
Well, there might still be. It might be fresh. But I worked with a fellow named Nick Vinay, who was a
big name,
yeah, a great producer. He did Mac the Knife and all, but he also did the Beach Boys, and so I worked with him, the last few years of his life, where I did all his music, and he would come in and tell me about how they had parachutes on the wall when it was the Beach Boys' place, and he said, took me in the back room, and there was a hole in the ceiling, and said that was Brian or one of them, maybe not Brian, but somebody fired off a gun, although I thought it was an old light fixture.
Whoa.
So I don't know. There's myth.
Cool.
Well, you have this, you have the quintessential going west story. You moved out here from Baltimore, and you've been married to Mona from Baltimore all these years. You have two grown sons. But you started living in a van out here, right? I mean, you were the starving musician that came out west.
Totally the starving musician. And it was a great time to live in the van. It was, it wasn't like, being unhoused or anything. It was a choice because it was 1978.
Yeah.
So I joined the Santa Monica Y so I could shower and I could take a sauna every day just to say I could, even though I was living in my van.
Nice.
And I'd park over the bluffs and, it was,
the whole thing was a big bluff, I guess.
It was a big bluff.
Yeah.
I came out to play bass and I went from having the biggest equipment in the world when I lived in Baltimore to having like the smallest amp possible to sit in my van, in my van. And I'd come out, and if I'd sit in with a band, the bass player would always have to get off stage because you can't have two of them. And I always felt bad, so that's when I said, I love pedal steel. Let me take a look at that, and then
so you could be
So
that's how it got.
So as an adult, you took it wasn't like
when I was in my 20s.
I guess that's kind of an instrument doesn't start with kids in elementary school,
or a marching band,
right?
Have to put wheels on it. And, roll it forward.
So you just kept playing gigs and meeting people.
Well, I understood music, and as soon as I sat behind it, it's a very complex instrument. It's got pedals, knee levers, and it's all, this tuning and stuff. But it clicked, and it made sense to me. And in just a couple of weeks, I had already been playing an instrument called a dobro, which is kind of similar-ish. But
dobro, is it Turkish? Or it's Middle Eastern origin?
They were two brothers, the Dopera brothers, and they were from, I don't think Turkey. Dopera brothers, so they were dobro.
Dobro.
And,
wow.
That's how that happened.
Wow. And then 2 weeks later, I got a gig. At the time, the guy's like, oh, yeah, you can learn how to play while you're sitting in with us. And
that's very cool.
What drew you to the instrument?
Just love the sound, At the time, it was more the kind of rockers who used it, maybe the country rockers like Poco, New Riders of the Purple Sage, Pure Prairie League. It was that kind of thing. And it wasn't until I got into it that I started getting deeper in the guys who they looked up to.
It was sort of a specialty instrument, so that must have helped you gain momentum.
Well, it certainly helped me get that first gig because they were like, sit in and play with us, we'll give you a few bucks. They just wanted the instrument there. But then I learned, and eventually, just a few years later, I was playing with everybody in town, but I would play steel, guitar, harmonica, banjo, even saxophone. So I always had a lot of gear to take.
Do you come from a musical family?
My mother sang, and she went to Peabody in Baltimore, which is kind of their Juilliard
prestigious musical.
She sang in the musical theater a little bit.
Oh, she did. Okay.
But no, I think it was just wanting to learn it, and like I said, I didn't know, but it clicked.
Yeah, but you definitely had the gene.
I definitely will thank whatever gene I got that it allowed me to kind of sneak by and do this forever.
I think also you have this raw talent and exceptional musicianship, but it's also because you're just a nice guy. You're completely unpretentious.
We're going to change that today.
What guest ever sends a bio with some his level of accomplishment? It's half a page.
It is half a
page at like 14
and
font.
Big print too.
No,
it's actually 16 font. I needed to make it look a little.
It looks more impressive when it's bigger.
Growing up, musically. All I ever really looked at were the liner notes to see who was behind the scenes. So I think it's kind of
not like that.
Make it.
Yeah, but you've been going 31 years here in Hollywood, right? And
no longer. I've just had the studio for 30 years.
Oh, excuse me. That's right. So
this has been since the 80s, early 80s.
You've been, and this town hasn't tarnished you yet.
No.
Good.
And I have to say that my experiences have always been good. Maybe I don't know.
I think
definitely not jaded.
I think it comes from your personality. You know,
Oh, well, thank you. I know.
Really, I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience as an actor. You know, everybody says, "Well, who was the most difficult person you ever worked with?" I never worked with a difficult person.
I can't imagine
Right?
you would.
No,
Yeah,
because I was having fun and I was, subordinate, and cooperative, which is what theater's all about.
Right.
On every level, and it's always been fun.
And there's a magic to that because when we started working together,
Mm-hmm.
I was in New York. You were here and you brought in Peter Bergman, and we were doing this comedy bit on an NPR show,
comedy series
called Power.
Power.
And you never asked me, "Can I listen to some of your work?"
No, because
It was completely reckless of you.
I don't know. I mean, when somebody wants to work with somebody, that to me is a good sign.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning, and and if you're compatible, then you go forward.
And then you have this almost initial trust. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
that was so respectful.
Well, you were coming from a respectful position. You were producing a national radio show, about the culture.
And you were even nice when I said we could only pay you $25 a week.
Oh, I forgot that part of it. What a fool I was.
It's public radio. But yeah, Marty's one of the nicest guys. And you've had such amazing experiences. I mean, one that comes to mind immediately, and you can see these things on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But, as you can see, both Phil and I are wearing New Orleans Jazz Fest T-shirts today. Just
right.
coincidentally, but we are.
Funny.
And I went to Jazz Fest for 20 years straight. And
then some days stoned.
Exactly. And one of the most emotionally and powerful experiences was I had already been going for like 10 years when Katrina hit.
Right.
And we had a crew.
Wow.
We had a crew we'd meet every year, 60 people from all walks of life, tugboat captains, and we were all friends for one weekend a year. It was the most wonderful thing because it was just music and food and happiness.
Did
and
you have
joy.
a name for your...
Yeah, the Maggie Crew. The Maggie Crew. Which
Where did that come from?
It's an old limerick that I can't really say here.
Okay.
But you
then
will
we
see,
know it in our...
you see our flag hanging at the Chart Room, one of the great dives in
The
New Orleans.
Chart Room,
right. In any event, the most powerful one was the one in the wake of Katrina. We all decided New Orleans was only 6 months out, and it was a mess, but we knew New Orleans needed the money, needed the tourist money, needed the emotional support, because Jazz Fest is
That's
the thing.
right.
And we went there, and it was an amazing experience
I'll
because
bet it was.
we had a local who drove us around every year who grew up there, and he took us down to the Ninth Ward when it was still washed out.
Harry Anderson's place got washed out. Oswald, he had to relocate in...
His club.
His club was gone.
Yeah.
And he had a magic store and everything.
Called
down there.
Oswald.
Yeah,
Because Oswald,
exactly.
Lee Harvey Oswald had quite a history in New Orleans. But anyway, what I'm getting to is Bruce Springsteen played that year, as big, if not bigger, than the Stones playing this year, because it was so emotionally momentous to come there a half a year after a devastating hurricane and flood that changed the city forever.
Yes, that's right.
And here you were touring with Bruce at the time, and you went down to New Orleans to play. And you can see this on YouTube. Just YouTube, Bruce Springsteen Jazz Fest.
Yeah,
2005,
and maybe the
6?
Sessions Band or Seeger Sessions Band. But you can add that to it.
Tell us about that.
Well, it was kind of interesting. We were about to start a tour, and I think we were going to Europe. And he said, beforehand, we're going to go down and do Jazz Fest. So I think it was almost a last minute. Like, he knew what was going on down there. It struck me as that was the case. Mm-hmm. And so there was a scramble, and we got down there to play. And it's like he had to give back to the city. We did this version with all the verses, or a lot of the verses of the Saints, when the Saints come marching in at the end. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like a slow, it wasn't the big up-tempo thing.
The funereal version.
Correct. Right? And so we were already geared towards that kind of a thing. So then when we played there, it was kind of interesting because it was like the art of him and how he got the whole band to be a part of this whole thing of getting the audience to become as one.
That he always managed to do. That was his magic.
It's
very beginning.
It still is. And watching it, there were about 70,000 people, I guess. And 35,000 are, I'm just picking numbers out of the air, are definite fans. And then you have the other people that are, maybe some kind of fans, whatever. And then I don't know if there was anybody who didn't care. But we would watch as we would do these songs, and some of them, like I remember we did a Jacob's Ladder, and he would do the chorus over and over until, people would start to turn and sing, and it becomes infectious.
Yeah,
it was
right.
all this infectious stuff until he got 70,000 people as one. And then he did a song, My City of Ruins. And there's a part where everybody's supposed to put their hands up and all, and he got everybody crying. I mean, the whole city and the whole crowd. I mean, was just.
Well, they didn't need any more water. I don't know.
They didn't.
Great idea.
And it was kind of awe-inspiring to not only watch how he did it, but to be a part of it. And also being a part of it up on stage, we got to see the people. It wasn't that we were in it. We were actually, as if it was on a screen in front of us. So it was pretty.
His stage performances are unbeatable. He has a real gift for performing. And
Billy Joel is like that too, by the way.
Elton John. I saw Elton John on that stage. I saw Stevie Wonder sing Away the Rain. Literally drove the storm away. It was the most amazing sunshine of your life.
I love it.
It was just spectacular. But Bruce is really
magic of music
in a category of himself by himself. He's just a remarkable, charismatic performer and brilliant. And you've worked with him a lot. I mean, what's your take being on stage with a guy like that?
Well, it's a lesson, and there's a connection, because I've known him and I've worked with him for so long, since mid '90s, and there's just I don't know, it's just a connection. Like you zone in on what he's doing. If you ever watch them, you can see that everybody in the band is watching him the whole time, because anything can happen at any moment. He knows how to get that out of all his players, out of the audience. It's not scripted, and so it's really a lesson. And what it taught me, besides all the little musical tricks, because we would rehearse a song that we never heard before and come up with the arrangement in sound check, and you never knew if it was we'd do a couple and you didn't know which one was going to be on the show. Blah blah blah. So. How he comes up with arrangements and all, but the bottom line is he's nice. He's a nice man. Yeah. And I always say, when people say, what's he really like? I'm like, he's who you want him to be. And so then if I ever worked with anybody else who has any kind of an attitude, I kind of chuckle to myself, like, if you only knew how to really do it.
Oh, that's
what I mean? Yeah. That's the thing. It's like you're not at that.
It's a sense of insecurity, I guess, right?
I think it could be. And he's just really kind, and he's nice, and he loves musicians around him. You're there because of he's casting your musical voice, and he's.
Now you're not the E Street Band. He has two different. How does that work?
Well, he has the E Street Band. They're out right now, in fact, on a great tour. We just saw them when they were in town, and then he'll do solo albums, which is what I've been on a bunch of. Maybe all since I started playing with him, that wasn't a featured E Street Band. And then there was this time where he did the Seeger Sessions Band, which became the Sessions Band.
That's right.
They had done a record with a bunch of players in New York. They did a song or two, I think, for a Pete Seeger album, and it was kind of really loose in the horn section. It was actually what ended up going to Jazz Fest. And so then a couple years later, they did a few more songs, and then they realized, hey, we have an album here. And so then they did another session. It became the album. Then he was ready to go on the tour, and so I was invited to that. And being the guy from California, I didn't know, okay, what's going to happen when I go to New York and it's all these New Yorkers. They're still my best friends. They truly are, and my other best friends that aren't local. It turned into this wonderful thing. Did
you find it at all difficult to be on the road during your career? Bus and truck. I mean, how did they? What were those experiences like?
It's interesting. That experience was great because he does it the right way, and you have time in the different cities, and you can hang with so many people in the audience. You go to a city, and there's so many thousands of people there, and then you go out afterwards and you bump into them.
That,
and
that happened with Firesign Theater.
I could imagine
Procter
you guys
Bergman,
did that.
Yeah. We slept on many a strange couch, had many a free meal.
But actually, I don't tour a lot. I'm mostly all in the studio, and because of that, originally when I was first going to start touring a bit, early on I was doing clubs, which was great, learning how to do the craft. And then the first time I was going on the road, like a real road thing, was with a woman named Rosie Flores. And my wife and I had been married already 5 years, and she said, well, with you gone, I think it's time to have a kid. So that it was very romantic, a little part of you would be here while you're gone.
Oh, sweet.
Sweet. So we had my son, and I said, I'm not going to miss this. So I stopped going on the road. So she was stuck with both of us.
That backfired on her.
And so while the kids were little, the only real thing I did is I did go with Bruce to something in New York, so I would go there for a Rolling Stone magazine TV thing or whatever. But otherwise, I stayed off the road until my kids were, until what I did with him on the road. But anybody else, I kind of waited until the kids were grown. So everybody thinks I'm a road guy,
But
good choice,
really,
though.
yeah.
Good choice.
Oh yeah, and we live in Santa Monica.
Why tour?
Why tour?
We're speaking with Marty Rifkin, musician extraordinaire, here on the Sexy Boomer Show with Phil and Ted.
And you said you came originally from Baltimore. I'm going to tell you a Baltimore story. I was on tour with The Sound of Music when I was younger. I played Rolf the Singing Nazi. You are 16, going on 70.
Was it billed that way? Was the Singing Nazi?
No. Rolf turns out to be a good guy at the end.
Yeah.
He lets them go,
Yeah.
Anyway, in Baltimore, a bunch of what we called the Bull Nuns wanted to go to a strip show and invited me along. And it was a burlesque show and actually had burlesque comics doing old burlesque routines, which just
Great
knocked
stuff.
me out. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
great. But they had a rule there. The girls couldn't take off their G-strings. So what the girls would do was that they would unsnap it on one side and move it over and snap it on the other side. So they were technically still wearing their G-strings, but it was exciting. So that's my favorite Baltimore story.
Those are good tour stories. You
Yeah,
might as well do that while you're on tour. Yeah, that was probably at a place called The Block, which was an area, I think it was down around what they call Reed Street. I was young when I left, so I never went and did that. Young, early 20s, but probably when I was old enough to go.
Yeah.
By then I might have left.
You worked with Glen Campbell. And so I YouTubed some Glen Campbell interviews with the Wrecking Crew and the great session players. And you do a lot of session work. And what struck me about all of it was just the camaraderie. And when you have old friends and you talk about the good old days, those guys really had good old days, as tough as it might have been at times.
Hey, Glen Campbell played on the first Firesign Theater album.
Oh, he did?
Yep. Jimmy Guercio was a powerful manager then, Chicago, etc. And I remember it was kind of a shock. We go into the studio, and there's this little band there to help us, with our first album, Waiting for the Electrician or someone like him. And Glen Campbell was one of the musicians.
Right. He was part of the Wrecking Crew. He was a guitar player.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? My God.
Way cool.
In retrospect, woo.
You had royalty on there.
We sure did, man. It was a great
How was your experience with Glen?
I loved him. We got along great. It was kind of right around the beginning when he started having, Alzheimer's. And so there would be, little moments that you could see. And yet I knew to talk to him about the past.
Yeah, that's right.
Show him pictures of his guitar, and he would tell me all about it. So we really connected well. I asked him once about, Brian Wilson when they were working together, because he was part of the Wrecking Crew who worked on Good Vibrations. And I mentioned something about the theremin, And He said, "Yeah, we were there, and but we didn't play. We just had to wait, and it took a while." I said, "Did you get antsy waiting?" And he went, "Oh no, I was watching a genius." And you could just see he went right to where he was.
And he played guitar beautifully till the very end. He never lost that.
No, never lost it, and he was kind of wonderful, and the people involved were great, and we did a lot of. We did a lot of work. I played on a couple of the records, and then if he had a band, but if he had a certain show that they wanted to augment, then I would be a part of it. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine named Kim Bullard, who plays with Elton. You probably saw him if you saw Elton at Jazz Fest. He's the other keyboard player. He's up on riser, and he's just wonderful. And so. Glenn was doing the Jules Holland show. Did you ever know who Jules Holland? He was in Squeeze, but he's got a great show in the UK.
Yeah, sure.
Jules Holland.
Yeah.
And so they brought Kim and I there. And you were talking about the camaraderie of session players. We were flying overnight for a BBC thing and all. And, we left, like I said, overnight. And so we each took an Ambien. And we ended up talking until the plane landed the next morning. We never let it kick in because there was just so much catching up to do.
Yeah.
And the whole studio thing is exactly like that. I look at myself much more like that than the touring guy, obviously, because of what we said.
You still do a lot of it. I mean,
a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same as it was because we used to actually up until the pandemic. I used to work at Capitol with a group of different groups of people, which was great. But now it's a little more modular. You do your overdub at your studio. Somebody else records.
Oh yeah, everything's become much more fragmented. We were talking about that on the ride over here today. The fact is that because of social media and because of these omnipresent phones and everything, people, especially this particular generation, they don't go out as much. No. Does it affect the club crowds too? I don't know if it does. I think music still attracts people to get together.
I think it does because of the pandemic ending. And the club's opening
and it was
back
like
up.
A celebration.
But I don't do very much of that. I'm just hoping that it's all back because I have so many friends that play clubs.
You do some great shows over at McCabe's in Santa Monica.
You're right, in that kind of place.
That's such a friendly venue, isn't
That's
it?
a friendly venue, and it's great. People care about the nuance of what you play.
That's right.
They can hear how loud do you play a note? Well, I mean, how loud do you play? How soft?
You played something you've been doing forever is something called the Dylan Fest, which you did it's every Memorial Day weekend, correct?
Well, next year I found out it's going to be on Mother's Day.
Ooh.
So I guess it's some kind of a holiday in May celebrating Bob Dylan with.
This just happened on Saturday. Where is it? What's it about?
It's a great little show. I shouldn't say little because it's big. There's quite a few, many hundreds of people. It's a festival at the Torrance Cultural Center run by Andy Hill and Renee Safier. And if you look up their names and Dylan Fest, you can learn about it. But there's 50 musicians involved.
Wow.
65 songs, and out of those 50 musicians, a lot are the acts, and then we have a house band, and I've been in a house band, and this particular year, a lot of other people, when the house band isn't backing them up, a lot of them will say, "Hey, Marty, will you play with us?" And we never rehearse or anything, but it's fine. And this year, out of 65 songs, I played 55.
Holy Moses!
That must have really tired your fingers out.
No, I felt pretty good. I was kind of. It felt good. It's actually from playing steel. It's my butt gets sore.
Yeah.
From sitting.
Secrets of the trade.
Secrets of the trade.
And you just did something for The Voice.
It was just last week I was on The Voice.
What's that? What is that about?
They had a song that one of the artists that was going to play there, and this is kind of how it works with me. I never know. It's kind of sometimes hard making certain plans, and I'll say to people, I'm not sure because I get these last minute calls.
Oh, absolutely.
And out of the blue, they called from The Voice and said, "Are you available, for this day rehearsal and this day show?" And I made, sure, But that kind of stuff happens all the time. So it was backing up an artist, this Gina Miles, who had won a couple years ago, and. It was great just to meet everybody, meet the band. The band is just brilliant.
Yeah.
But those kind of things happen all the time when I least expect it. I'll get a call for something.
It puts you in a wonderful position of adventure, really, when you think
It's
about
all adventure. I'm with you, and I'm so happy to have the opportunity to,
But it's sort
be
of
on the call.
timeless too. I mean, I've got a lot of musician friends who come and go because they just, they had hard lives in the beginning, so it didn't age well. You've aged beautifully. I don't know how you're doing that. Are you a vampire? Is that?
No, it's the
Do you have
lighting.
a
It's the lighting.
Do you have a T-shirt of Dorian Gray hanging in your closet?
No, I always just decided early on I'm going to set up soft focus in front of my face. So nobody can notice. But there's a longevity. I think it's because I was never hunting for, to me, there were just little small victories of just doing any little things, and you do a good job, and you want to.
Hey, listen,
make it a pleasant.
we stay young in the entertainment world because we enjoy what we're doing, and it's fulfilling to us.
It's exactly.
We don't have a lot of worry lines,
Right. And what's kind of interesting is that I work with a lot of young musicians and young artists.
Good.
And as just did something recently, 17-year-old. And they look up to us with the knowledge that we've learned, whereas I think if I was, 25 and was going to meet somebody my age, musically, we might go, well, you're from a different musical era.
Yeah,
and, I would hope I wouldn't do that, but I could understand that I could. And nowadays, and I do a lot for my son, and
Your son is a successful musician.
Yeah,
as well.
he's great. It goes by Pink Sock, and
Here in L.A.
And he does really well, but he's fantastic, and so he'll bring his stuff in, and I'll mix his stuff, even though it's.
What's he play?
He plays everything on his records. He plays, guitar, and he gets keyboards, the drums.
Wow.
He just kind of does everything.
Wow.
Sings like.
Did he shadow you? Did he look up to you?
No, it was kind of a. He did his own
independently.
path. Yeah. And it was funny. I saw a thing today, like one of those memes that you see. It's like when a kid is 5, what does he think about dad? And then he's 10, and by 13, dad doesn't know anything.
Yeah, right. Dad would,
Not saying he did that. And it wasn't until they're older. Well, maybe dad knows something. Wow, dad knows a lot more than I thought. And. I think it was good because he
got hip to that earlier.
But he learned how to do what he does, and I think it's good because it made him creative in his his way.
Yeah.
And
what about your other son?
Oh, he's a very great computer guy up in Silicon Valley.
Oh, he's an uber nerd. I mean, he's
he's not nerdy, but in that world.
So does he take after your wife, or?
No. I mean, they all do. She's been a great influence on all of us. I mean, she's a perfect musician wife. Musician's wife. She's a great musician's mother, and she's a great nurture. My other son, Devin, what he does. Very supportive, and we have a very tight nuclear family.
Wonderful.
And Mona is
a nuclear family is a blast.
Now, so you've been around doing this forever, and musically,
not yet.
No, musically, things have
feels it.
My daughter, who's turning 21, she knows the '80s repertoire. She has contemporary musicians that she likes to see and listen to, but they have this very strong rooted understanding and feeling about music. I try to find new music. It seems like it's difficult to recreate the raw originality of the 60s and 70s and even some of the 80s. As I've said, I'm into YouTube right now, and I just Googled Johnny Be Good and watched Jimi Hendrix perform it live, Johnny Winter perform it live, and just watched the guitar playing of that era, late 60s, early 70s, which was just
astounding.
Remarkable. What's your perception of how the industry, where's it going?
Well, I'm not sure where it's going to go. The thing that was different in the 60s and the 70s, and I guess actually through the 80s, there was radio. And, you were in New York, Where were you?
I was in New York at the time.
Okay, so and I was in Baltimore, but somebody out here. We had.
Oh,
the
you're
same,
talking about the 80s?
Oh no, let's say the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, the 60s I was in New York, and then came out, and the Firesign Theater was created. So I was kind of bi-coastal.
And at the exact same time, we all heard the same Elton John song for 26 weeks.
That's right.
Okay, we all heard Rocket Man, no matter what.
Yep.
And so that kind of connected everybody to
even
know
more so when we were younger in the 60s, because you and I are the same age, top 40. The Motown sound.
I was going to say, yeah, we all heard the Supremes, the same exact song.
That's
right.
right.
The same.
And it was never tiresome because it was just such great music. You didn't mind the rotation.
Well, and actually, when I always say to people, when you hear a new song, listen to it 2 or 3 times, okay? Because that's when it starts connecting to you, and that's what we had. Like you said, it was the same song over and over. It didn't get old.
No.
We didn't go, Tracks of My Tears, that's on again? No, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm singing along. I remember I had a group of friends. We used to harmonize together down in the subways in New York.
See, people in our boomer category,
Right.
who have lost touch with music. For someone who's looking to reconnect, this vitality, where do you find your music? I mean, people come to you, obviously, but where would somebody find their music now?
Yeah, I don't know what everybody's experience would be. I guess, we all go online and listen to one of the streaming services, and then they set up algorithms.
Yeah.
But
And
it's not
I've
hu-
discovered,
yeah.
I mean, you're right. I don't know. I have a feeling a lot of people our age do the rabbit hole down YouTube and end up. I know for me, music went from more record stuff, although I listen to that all the time because, to seeing live performances on YouTube. So I'll get lost more on that. Like you said, you looked up that song, but you were looking up live performances.
That's right.
And so that's probably where I think a lot of us might go to see something.
Again, it's fragmented. It's not the same kind of communal experience.
Right.
Until people come together, like the Jimmy Buffett concert that I was at, the tribute concert. 17,500 crazy parrot heads there.
Right.
And I know my friend Jamie Alcroft, who was there, said to somebody, "So this is really like a religion." He said, "Oh no, man, it's a cult." It's a cult, and it's occult because it's hidden.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't get that many opportunities to get together to celebrate together the music.
And I think that's what's great about radio, too, and where you can still find a college radio where there are young people sharing their musical taste. XLU here in town, you can hear some good music. I think on satellite radio. But what I really miss are the musicologists that were DJs that came on and would had their finger on the pulse of what was going on musically, and also on how that was reflected culturally. The only thing I can find, and the only reason I subscribe to Sirius XM is for one channel, The Loft. That's where I can sort of reliably be turned on to good music. And I know they're listening because if there's something that's off kilter and you go like, "Oh, I do not want to hear that," and it's very rare for me, but I do. I probably think a lot of people are doing that, and they probably can see that, and that song goes right off. That's done.
And you don't
because
see
it's
that
like,
again.
Wow, look at the tune out on this printout.
It's interesting. I'm going to be back in your stomping grounds. I'm going to be performing in Washington, D.C., hosting an evening which is under the aegis of the Cellar Door, great club down there that you know well too.
Yeah.
And it's to help musicians, up and coming local bands and things. And it's going to be at the Hamilton Club. The old Hamilton Club. I've never been to there. It costs $10 to get in, right? Hamilton Club. Thank you. And try the veal. Try the veal. But anyway, the next day I'm going to be interviewed by my friend Adele Abrams, who was on our show, who was a DJ back in the progressive rock days.
WHFS.
But she's going to be curating an interview with me about Firesign Theater, Procter and Bergman, and all that. And I'm bringing certain, drop-ins, some musical stuff. And it's the same thing. The spirit still exists out there.
Right.
They're more local than they are national.
Well, what how is the business for musicians now?
I think it can be a little difficult. It's hard for me to say because I have my thing, and I've always done, well, and it just stays the course. It's a lot harder because the days of being able to earn a living off of the music sales is not really
That's
there.
really
You have to
changed,
deal
hasn't
with, instead it's more live performance,
touring.
it's merch,
Yeah.
it's placements.
Yeah. This is why the prices at concerts are so high now.
There's one of the reasons. It's also a monopoly.
Yeah. There's that. As far as it depends on what level.
Yeah.
The thing is, people that are, I keep wondering what's going to happen maybe 12, 15 years from now when the classic acts aren't touring anymore.
Mm-hmm.
How are the arenas going to fill up? Because there's a lot of new artists that won't be able to fill 18,000, 20,000 seats.
Not yet.
Because of fragmentation?
And stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Stones will play the stadium, or
Mm-hmm.
Bruce will play the stadiums, but when they're no longer doing it, for whatever reason, who is going to? I mean, obviously Taylor Swift or whatever, but there's not a lot of her type of acts that can fill those things. So
Billie Eilish, I suppose, is a big draw, but
yeah, I just don't know what the concert. So I'm
Yeah,
curious
what's it gonna
how
be?
the hockey
Yeah.
arenas are gonna what they're gonna do.
So you're going to see smaller venues is what you're thinking?
Well, you're going to have to, because once again, we all heard Satisfaction at the same time, and so the Stones became part of our DNA.
That's right.
But with what's out there right now, no fault of the artist. It's really the fault of not getting everybody on the same page. You just can't have that fan
Well,
base.
I'm a proud MAGA, making America groovy again. Right?
Yeah, I didn't know where that was going
Thing
either.
to aim for.
So I'm curious to see what, but I don't know. I knew streaming was going to come, but I didn't know in what form.
Well, you produce all the time
Right.
new artists, and you bring your seasoning to them and your judgment, and you just help them really come up with a professional sounding product, if you will. What are their prospects?
Well, it depends what they want to, how hard they want to work at it. Like I said, you could get, certainly placement is a thing that's important now so that you can get your following. Do they do a channel, a YouTube channel? Are they performing live? There's a lot of groups that you'll never hear of that can fill 10,000 seats somewhere. I hear that all the time. It's just like, well, that would be fine. Because if you're not giant, you don't have the giant overhead.
Right.
So what
true.
you have to do is a business plan of some sort of, okay, what do you need to get out of music to make your living, if indeed you want it to be a living. And not everybody wants it to. And
I guess the festival circuit is a good thing.
That's another one. Music is kind of interesting because we hear about the music business. We've heard that all our lives.
Sure have.
And you get into music and people around you going, wait, you're in the. Do you really think you're going to, quote, make it? Why are you doing that? Are you done doing the music thing yet? Blah, blah, blah. And all these people hit you with that are the same people who go golfing. And you have to turn around and say, are you ever going to be in the PGA? You do it because you love it.
Right.
And I know so many people who have to make records because they love making records and making their music. And it doesn't matter that they're not going to be the next Billy Joel. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the technology is so much more accessible now, so people can produce at home and get it to a place where they can at least get started. But then they come to a person like you for the
finesse.
the finesse and the
well,
finish
quite
and the
often,
polish.
I think some of it might be, and like I'm not a snob. My kids and I always would get into fun arguments of, we know, Dad, nobody sucks. It's just not the music you like to hear. They don't buy that. I understand, but that's how I look at it. So if somebody does a lo-fi thing, and maybe it wouldn't be pleasant for us to listen to.
Yeah.
If they listen to it and love it, then I think, I just can't imagine somebody making a record and going, I hate this song. I hate the way it sounds.
Yeah.
Let's put it out.
Yeah. And that's the money. That's the money aspect of it.
Right.
That's the business side of it.
Right. It's like they're trying to save. I mean, they should do it or could do it,
Right.
maybe elevate the level. That's why I was never snobby. I could work, like at my place, I could work with one of the greatest songwriters in the world, like a Hal David or somebody. And then the next day, somebody who wrote their first song. But if they can learn something from how we have to tweak the song and how we have to make it sound a certain way, then their next song will
be better.
And you never know if the 10th song is the one that we all go.
And you mentioned Hal David. Tell us a little bit about Hal.
Hal was great. I remember I first started,
Who was he first? I mean, for people who may not be familiar.
He wrote the lyrics to Burt Bacharach's songs. Do You Know the Way to San Jose? Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. What's It All About, Alfie? He was just brilliant. And I remember he would do stuff. I think he co-wrote with a fellow named Ken Hirsch, who was also a very well-known writer. And I remember the first time he came to my place. Before I moved in the studio, it was in my apartment. And I remember he knocked on the door, and Mona answered the door, and he goes, "Is this the right place?" 2 flights up and all that. But we hit it off great, and it was great. And once I moved in the studio, he was back in a bunch. And the thing that made him great was he would take the melody, and he would actually do the perfect syllable versus the melody note and never cheat. Like it was, if the melody was, do you know the way to San Jose? Right. He didn't go San Francisco, which a lot of writers do. They kind of fudge things to get the exposition in. And he would just write the most brilliant, raindrops keep falling on my head.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It was never, and I learned that craft from him. Of how exact that
By
was.
the way, we should pay respects to the late Richard Sherman, who did all the great Disney music, and was also a friend of mine. He was a fun character. Both he and his brother Robert were amazing. They were out there, celebrating.
He was brilliant.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we talked about the business. Now let's just, in the time we have left, talk about the art. The art and the craft of your work. Now you play the pedal steel, which is a very expressive, complex instrument. I mean, so they call you up, like a Springsteen. They call you up, Marty, can you play? I mean, where do you go in your mind when you play with all these diverse artists? How do you fit into the flow and bring it up with them?
I think the first thing you have to do is, I call it big ears. You got to hear everything going on. It's an expressive instrument. It's usually in response to what you hear around you, or that's how I treat it. I don't try to do a Rolodex of licks and things like that. It's more
responsive.
Responsive. And what is the role? It can be a very evocative instrument. It can also be that twangy thing, whatever. But I look at it more orchestral. And so there's certain colors that it has, which I've learned, and it is complex. But once I start playing all of that, it's like driving a car. The clutch, and you don't think about it when you're actually driving. Right. And I have pedals, I have knee levers. It's where do you play the string, where do you put the bar, and blah blah blah. And what I try to do is get lost in that moment. I'll know mathematically before the song what's supposed to happen. But then when you start playing, just got to get away from yourself and just listen to everything around you. The singer sings a line, you respond. The singer sings the next, to how they're feeling.
Yeah.
The singer sings the next line, you have to respond to that feeling, but you can't forget what you played between the other line. And so you have to, and for me, I just try to get away from myself, and it's never about the instrument or me. I've worked enough where it's not like, oh, listen to what I can do. I never want that. I've done it enough that I don't have to.
Are you consciously counting?
No, unless there's a moment that you have to. But no.
Do you hear the music in your head and you're translating it into your instrument?
I hear the vibe or the color of what I'm going to play, so to speak. But no, not the notes, because that wouldn't be fair. Then I'm reciting. And a lot of it, I think one thing that I was always able to do is kind of a fast twitch improv thing. In other words, somebody can say, take it. I don't know the changes necessarily, but
Yeah.
as soon as you hear it, but I can I can play over on top of those and solo, but I usually blank out my mind
Isn't that cool?
for that
Oh, my
moment.
God, yeah.
Otherwise, I feel like I'm reciting, and I don't think that would be
Constantly creating.
Yeah, you've used visual terms a couple of times here, color.
right.
And do you visualize what you do? I mean, when you say these colors, what do you think?
No, I guess colors is another word for tonal.
Yeah, tonal
A
expression.
tonal expression. Is it going to be sweeping? Yeah, or is it more notey? And
It's very similar to singing for me, singing in musical comedy. Whatever. Well, you're expressing emotions and ideas through the music, and it can change too.
it can change.
When I do sound design, I regard it as painting a picture.
Right.
We did that with
Perceptions.
Firesign Theater.
Yeah.
The mixes were extremely important because we were putting
Yeah.
characters in various places.
Right.
It was all visualizing in our head.
Well, and I'll do that a little bit with the mix because we're staring at a screen and all that. But I know, like recently, I had to learn something for whatever it was, and I put the song into Pro Tools, and then I learned the parts, and then I found I was looking at the screen so I would remember where those parts were, and I said, well, I can't do that in the real world, and so I made sure not to look because I didn't want it to be visual.
Yeah.
It's really true. I just thought of that. Classical music, I played the violin in the Alan Stevenson School Orchestra and all. We had music. We were reading music. A lot of it, is once you learn it, you become more expressive and freed. But I don't see that very often on stage.
No, and then
there
when
are no
you
music
and then when you
stands.
open your eyes, you have somebody like The Edge from U2 watching over your shoulder, right? I mean, that's happening.
Right, that happened at Jazz Fest.
It's
We were
really
rehearsing
organic,
at
isn't
8
it?
in the morning, and I'm playing, and I turn and look, and the Edge was standing over my shoulder, watching it, and it was kind of great because and he loved it, and I remember his wife was there, and she was like, well, and I felt comfortable because. This is
Family feeling,
I do say that I play very fluidly, not erratically. So it's very fluid. So he's watching the bar moving very fluidly. It was kind of great because at Bruce's show he was there and got to introduce him. I reintroduced myself. Remember that? And he said, yeah. And I introduced him to Mona. But there was another time because I knew he doesn't do that. I was doing a thing for the premiere of Parenthood movie with Steve Martin. So there's a band, there's me on steel, and next to me is a guitar player, next to him is another guitar player.
Okay.
And this is where the fast twitch comes in. So we're playing a song, and Eddie Van Halen walks in.
Oh, my God.
And we all look up, and there's Eddie. And so it was my solo. I played a solo. And when I was done playing the solo, I turn and look at the guitar player like, okay, I did mine. You're supposed to do yours. Yeah. And he shook his head no.
Oh, wow.
And he looked at the other guitar player.
Yeah.
And he shook his head no. And looked at the first one. And then he looked down at me. And this is all happening like in a split second.
Yeah.
Like three of us are sitting here. It would be me going this and this. And so I just thought, well, he doesn't do this. And so I took another solo.
Good for you.
And it was like fine, it wasn't to show off or anything. It was just like it needed the solo.
Our guest, Marty Rifkin. Marty, we're out of here. Where can people hear your music?
Just all. It's hard to say, because I work for so many different artists.
Yeah.
So I don't have,
You have
a particular
favorite?
No, not really. But if they want to look up the Jazz Fest thing or just in general, if they do a search for who I've played with, then they,
so just
they
search
can find it.
Marty Rifkin, Rifkin. They'll find you somewhere.
They'll find me somewhere. I'm easy to find.
Well, this was another fast hour.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
This was great, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Marty
having me.
Rifkin,
Great fun.
Friend and fantastic musician. And thank you so much for coming on the show. Phil,
Yeah.
I'm Ted.
Oh, I'm Phil, I guess.
And you've been listening to
I'm
Phil-
filling time. Let's just put it that way.
You've been listening to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. And once again, we can say to you, see you next week.
You bet.